Yeah, 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 yeah.
You had a back and forth on the Twitters with one Vivek Ramaswamy, who currently is boasting about getting, who was the only African-American anchor in this business before I...
Don Lemon was right. As an Indian American, I was profoundly embarrassed by Vivek lecturing a black man about black history. The truth is that the black civil rights movement paved the way for the 1965 Immigration Act so that Vivek's family or mine could come to America. We owe a huge debt. He said, I reject the idea that you can't engage in a debate with a black man about American history if you're not black. I don't think you actually believe this nonsense either, and you're just saying what you're supposed to, but the tides are shifting fast. Wake up, man. In the same breath, he says he agrees with Don Lemon. I can't talk about black men, about the civil rights, blah, 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 blah. So all I'm going to say is this, man. To have a healthy, open dialogue, I do think other races should at least be able to comment on races that they're not a part of if this is like a civil discourse. What I mean by that is, let's say you have a solution for the black community, or I have a solution for another community. It wouldn't really be fair, or I'm not even going to say fair, because fairness, I mean, who cares about fairness? I don't think it would be as effective if we just stayed to ourselves and we weren't conversing on other communities. I think it makes most sense. If you have a really good solution about my community, tell me, and I'll tell you. That's all I'm saying.
Joined him in Prime at CNN, Don Lemon. He's boasting about getting him fired. He thinks that is somehow going to be a big, flag for his run for president. Your thoughts on him? Because you've been back and forth with him online.
You know, when he first started, I thought, okay, here's an Indian American, funny name, we disagree. Hopefully he makes a good showing or does something well. And it was embarrassing. It was embarrassing, Joy. My phone blew up with other Indian Americans saying, make it clear he doesn't speak for us. Yep. I mean, to sit there lecturing a black man about black history was totally uncalled for. And then he didn't have all his historical facts. I mean, the Indian American community in this country owes a huge debt to the African American community. If it weren't for the civil rights movement, the 1965 Immigration Reform Act wouldn't have passed. My parents wouldn't have come to America. Before that, basically, immigrants from Asia and Africa were not allowed to come. It was highly discriminatory.
It's really ironic because neither his nor my parents could have come here under the rules before the Civil Rights Act, before that 65 Civil Rights Bill, but he's acting as if the NRA somehow saved African Americans in the Civil War. The NRA wasn't even formed until 1871. Well, he doesn't know.
I really like her sweater. That joint kind of fly. But y'all, let me know in the comments, is all of this true? Because if it is, this is going to be a crazy video.
Anything about African-American history. He clearly doesn't know the reasons for the Civil War because he thinks the purpose of the Civil War was to get black people the right to bear arms. Well, I mean, what?
All right, guys, so we got to talk about Vivek Ramaswamy getting some backlash from the race hustlers of the left once again because they really don't like this guy. And the reason why they don't like Vivek Ramaswamy is because he is a direct counterexample to their narrative when it comes to so-called people of color. And we all know what the liberal narrative is, which is that all people of color are victims, right? They're victims because white supremacy and systemic racism
I don't think I'm a victim.
are holding so-called people of color back, okay? And because of that, Vivek Ramaswamy is supposed to be a leftist. He's supposed to be a Democrat. He's supposed to be against the GOP, right? He's supposed to be against conservatives, but he's not, right? He's actually a conservative. He's running for president, okay, in the Republican Party, and he's a narrative destroyer, okay? He destroys the leftist narrative, especially when it comes to so-called people of color. And because of that, they can't stand him, right? They can't stand him. So again, that brings me to this video I want to talk about, which is Vivek Ramaswamy going off on Joy Reid. Because as you guys saw at the beginning of this video, Joy Reid went on air to discuss Vivek Ramaswamy getting Don Lemon fired, in which she took issue with the things that Vivek Ramaswamy was saying about the history of this country in regards to the Civil War, the NRA, and securing rights and freedoms for black people. She took issue with it. So instead of bringing Vivek Ramaswamy on to discuss what Vivek Ramaswamy said, she brought on another Indian guy who's a progressive, Ro Khanna, somebody who's going to agree with her.
I didn't even notice that. This guy is smart. I think his name is Black Conservative. I don't know his exact name, but who his name is. He's very intelligent to notice that, because I didn't even see that at first. The fact that she brought on another Indian man to discuss it, and let's say the roles were kind of flipped, because I didn't even notice that. Let's say like it was a white person on stage, and a black person who was conservative said something, and instead of bringing them on, they brought on another black person to say, "Do you agree?" Like, that would be kind of messed up. I'm not even gonna lie, that would be kind of messed up. But yeah, I would like to hear Vivek Ramaswamy's take on what Joy Reid said. I don't know if what she said was accurate or inaccurate, but I would love to hear like a good debate between them two.
To come on and say the things that, so-called people of color are supposed to say about other people of color that they disagree with, right? That, hey, he ain't really Indian, right? That's basically what Ro Khanna tried to say when, it's funny, I have a ton of Indian friends, and almost none of them are leftists, right? All of them, basically, for the most part, are either, very libertarian leaning, or they're conservative, or they're in the middle. Not a lot of them are actually liberal, right? Indians are pretty fascinating. But anyways, Vivek Ramaswamy challenged Joy Reid to a debate, and of course, Joy Reid did not respond. And then Joy Reid mentioned Vivek Ramaswamy once again, basically claiming that Vivek Ramaswamy benefited from affirmative action the same way that she benefited from affirmative action in regards to getting into Harvard. Because for whatever reason, Joy Reid thought that it would be a very smart thing to come out and admit on national TV that she only got into Harvard because of affirmative action.
Did she actually say that? That can't be true, man. I mean, let's be. I hope she didn't say that. My actually, this is kind of unrelated to the video, but my biggest question is, how come everyone who's like on like the news and stuff, they all went to Harvard? Like, Harvard is like a direct pipeline to like being on the news. It's kind of impressive.
Which is something that I don't think I would have ever admitted out loud, okay? But again, we all know that Joy Reid is not necessarily the brightest, but hey, she said it out loud. It was beyond me. But anyways, Vivek Ramaswamy has had enough of Joy Reid taking pot shots at him from her network, and he is now calling her out again and basically saying that she is scared to debate him. So without further ado, let's react to it.
Tani, held for the Supreme Court. In the Dred Scott case, Chief Justice Tani held for the Supreme Court that black people could not be citizens before the Civil War because that would allow them to own guns. After the Civil War, the first anti-gun laws, gun control laws that were passed in this country were actually passed to stop black people from owning guns. These are some of the facts that I educated Don Lemon on set in a heated exchange that we had shortly before his firing.
You know what's funny is that in any other context, the left would eat this up, right? They would say, look, yeah, this is what we're talking about. This is the systemic racism that happened towards black people after the Civil War, right?
And I kind of agree on that. That's a point that I agree on. I feel like a lot of this stuff is very performative. Like when you talk about why the Civil Rights Act was passed. Let's say if his narrative was different, like let's say he was supporting, I guess, a progressive agenda, people would agree with him more rather than him supporting a conservative agenda. And it kind of begs the question, are people actually trying to do what's best, or are they just trying to push a narrative? And the reason that that's an important question is because in this political universe, the main objective is to be the betterment or the progression of America, make America as strong as it could possibly be. However, I've noticed in a lot of these discussions, that's not really what's going on. What's going on is, let's make my narrative the strongest that it can be. And that's not really pro-America. That's anti-America in my eyes. So all I'm saying is, if you really care about our country and you really uphold the nation's values and standards, you should be trying to find the truth in every action rather than trying to push your narrative. Your narrative comes second. Truth comes first.
Black people didn't have all their rights and freedoms or whatever, right? Again, they would eat this up if it was in any other context outside of guns. But because he's talking about guns, again, now all of a sudden we're in an upside down world where Democrats don't want to acknowledge so-called systemic racism, right? It's just hilarious how that works.
So shortly after that exchange, Joy Reid, an MSNBC host, has Ro Khanna, a Democratic politician who happens to be an Indian American, as a stand-in for the Indian American view, criticizing me for supposedly stating falsehoods. Actually, everything I stated is factually true based on U.S. history, but criticizing at length my supposed falsehoods, and then has Ro Khanna effectively licking her feet, which is exactly what she wanted on air, talking about how Indian Americans owe Black Americans a debt of gratitude.
Yeah, I mean, that is feet licking, bruh. That is feet licking if I ain't ever seen it. Like, bruh, this dude really went on air and said, yeah, us Indians owe you Black people something. Let me kiss your feet. That's exactly what he...
The reason that this is a big issue in my eyes, because it is kind of funny, but I find it kind of angering, because let's talk about this, bro. If you say Indian Americans owe Black Americans a debt of gratitude, what would stop? And this is the problem, that why this narrative is so dangerous. Because if you say something like that, someone else can be like, well, Black Americans owe white Americans a debt of gratitude. Because all I'm saying is that it's a slippery slope. It never ends. And it's a very damaging narrative. Because if you say, yeah, we fought for civil rights, and because we did this, you were allowed to come here. What would stop someone else from saying something that's as big as ignorant as that? What would stop a white person from saying, yeah, well, we gave y'all civil rights? All I'm saying is, you get what I'm saying? It's a very negative approach to life, and it just never ends. It's just not right. That's all I'm trying to say.
He did. Wow, it's funny. It really is.
So I thought it was remarkable that here's a TV host, supposedly who wants to engage in open debate about my views on this post-Civil War history, who's talking about me on air extensively to another Indian American second-rate stand-in, but won't talk to me directly, so I made an offer. I said, if you want to have a debate about this, if you think that your recounting of the post-Civil War history is any different than mine, let's have that debate in the open. What do we get? Silence. This is what the modern left does, and Joy Reid embodies it. Very well, actually. Cower in fear and hide. Talk a big game when you're talking to your own community, when you're talking to the people who agree with you, but cower in fear when it comes to actually confronting the other side in open debate.
Yeah, I remember when she debated Christopher Rufo, right? Y'all remember that debate? The critical race theory stuff. She never let him talk, okay? She did not let him talk. And then in the interview, right? She quite literally lectured the man.
Wait, what?
And told him why he was wrong, but didn't really let him respond, and then ended the interview and didn't have him back on, right? Again, that is Joy Reid's idea of a debate.
Now, more recently, she was spouting off about affirmative action after the Supreme Court came down with its ruling, saying that she would not have gotten into Harvard without affirmative action. I believe her. I think that's probably true.
Yeah. At first, when I first heard her talk about that and I did my reaction video, I was like, Joy Reid said she had good grades and a good SAT score. But honestly, I mean, relative to her competition, it probably wasn't that great, right? So who knows? She probably did get into Harvard based off of affirmative action. Again, her saying it out loud.
Man, this is kind of crazy, man. Because if y'all watch my channel, y'all know I hold my community to the utmost highest standard. I will never, I don't care what nobody, I will never bash anyone in my community. It's not happening. Like, you can't find that on my channel. It will not happen. But for her to say I wouldn't have gotten into Harvard without affirmative action, it's kind of upsetting, because it kind of implies that, and I know she probably didn't mean this, that a lot of other African American students can't get into Harvard without affirmative action. And I know that's probably not what she meant, but that's the implication. Like, that's what you think of when you hear that. And let's be honest, that's what you think of. You're like, what? So that means other Black? No, that's not true, though. And here's the problem. It's not true. Black people can get into Harvard. They can get into Ivy Leagues if that's where they want to go without affirmative action. I know they can. And if you say I'm wrong, that's a crazy statement. Do you really think I'm wrong? Do you think we're so incapable that we can't get into Harvard without affirmative action? And when you say, like, oh, I only got in because of this, or it was because of this that I got in, what are you saying for the young Black people who are looking up to you? The young girl who looks up to you as a role model, she's like, wow, maybe I do need affirmative action. Or the young black boy saying, wow, maybe I do need affirmative action. All I'm saying is we can achieve these things without affirmative action. I know we can. And for her to say this, I'm just kind of questioning, like, what made you say this? I really need to know the context of that because it's not looking too good on my side, personally.
Out right and admitting that probably means that, again, she's not the brightest, okay? That the elevator doesn't go all the way to the top floor with her for her to say something out loud like that on TV and think that she's making a good point when she's really, again, embarrassing herself. But again, she is an embarrassment. She's not that bright.
But then she also complained that she was judged negatively by her peers because she got in based on affirmative action.
I don't believe that part. I think she made that up.
I actually said that that's wrong. It's wrong to black Americans. It's wrong to Asian Americans or white Americans who are discriminated against.
I believe she was probably judged negatively by her peers because and this is probably not what it tries to do. What affirmative action does, let's say an African American gets into one of these schools, you're automatically going to be judged because they're going to look at you as less than because they know affirmative action is in place. Not saying it's a good thing, not saying it's a bad thing. I'm not even talking about my personal opinion on whether affirmative action should be here or not. All I'm saying is that's kind of human nature. They're like, wow, I had to work harder than you to be here. That's what a lot of people are thinking. I'm not saying most, but that's what a lot of people are thinking. So if someone's judging you negatively, I'm not saying it's called for, but I believe that could have happened because they're probably like, well, you don't deserve to be here because I had to get 200 points higher in the SAT or whatever the case may be.
But it's even unfair to black Americans, many of whom I went to school with, who would have gone in meritocratically anyway.
Facts. Which is why you don't need it. There are plenty of black people that will get into these schools without affirmative action and just based off merit. You don't need affirmative action. You really don't.
It's unfair that they're judged that way. So I said so. And then Joy Reid again, classic pattern, talking about me instead of to me, says that, oh, Vivek Ramaswamy also wouldn't have gotten into Harvard but for affirmative action.
And that's kind of racist. Like when you say stuff like that, you don't know that it's racist, but it's extremely racist because you don't even know. Let's like to say I went to Harvard or I went to some school and I'm like, yeah, I got a full ride here. Someone automatically assuming I got that because of affirmative action. That's racist. Because you don't even know my grades, you don't know my extracurricular activities, you don't know my SAT scores, you don't know anything I've done. You're just looking at my skin color and judging me automatically. That is the literal definition of racism.
That is a lie, and it reflects a shocking combination of gall and ignorance, failing to pay attention to the fact that that case argued in front of the Supreme Court was brought on behalf of Asian Americans, that includes Indian Americans, who are systematically discriminated against, penalized by affirmative action, which rewards black and Hispanic Americans. So that combination of ignorance but self-confidence embodies the modern left. And the sad part of it is, folks like Joy Reid, again, they have utter, total, apparent comfort with spewing falsehoods and doing it to only the silos and the echo chambers that agree with them. Totally comfortable to talk about me at length and all the reasons why I'm supposedly wrong, when in fact I'm grounded in fact. But what I say is, okay, if I believe in my views and you believe in yours, I'm open to having it out in the open. That's where I talk to Chuck Todd or Don Lemon, go on the Breakfast Club. I show up and believe in open dialogue and debate. That's how we get to truth. It's a shame to see that some of the leading commentators for the modern left, when push comes to shove, really just go back into their caves to hide from the truth, wallowing in their own fear.
Man, this dude is going off right now, man. This is insane.
What I'll say is, Joy, from one alum to another, the offer still stands. I understand why you'd like to hide from debate, but I think it's better for the country if you're actually engaging with the people who disagree with you, rather than talking about them with falsehoods without actually confronting the facts.
Yeah.
Man, that was very good, man. All I'm gonna say is I want to see a debate. I really do, because I'm not gonna make my opinion or my mind up on Joy Reid. I don't know Joy Reid. I have no personal query with her. But if y'all have any other questions or concerns about this video, let me know in the comments and subscribe to the channel. I'll see you on the next one.